Hello class, this is video part 2 of Module 7, Chapter 10, the chi-square and course project. If you'll notice, we've already completed the chi-square information as far as the basics of the chi-square. We did that in video 1. And I apologize for going over so long and having to have 2 videos, but in this second video we're going to cover we're going to continue the course project. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about the chi-square in terms of its terms and procedures. The course project, we're going to continue with that, and I'm going to show you in this particular video how to do most of these things right here that need to be explained. The first two provide from 3 to 5 research questions derived from your overarching research question from your last assignment, and the data you're able to acquire. State the null hypothesis for each of these new research questions. These are not really new, they just stem from the overarching question and the hypothesis. So from those you'll come up with other more specific research questions and more specific hypotheses. Then you're going to have to find out what data will you need to answer these research questions and determine the outcomes for these hypotheses. What data? Show me the data. It's all about the data. You have to really know what data you can get and use before you can really develop your hypotheses or your research questions. You're going to construct a sample. I told you this at the very beginning of the course, fictitious data table. Again, it's all about the data. 15 to 20 questions. Well, I found out in my little representation you saw in the last video that I had to have a little more than 20. I think I had to have 40 set data points to demonstrate what I wanted to demonstrate. So you're going to have enough data points to demonstrate what you want to. And I'll tell you what, if I were you, I would start this thing in SPSS and define those data points that way. And Excel is fine, but the SPSS is what it's all about. Let's see. Oh yeah, when you're finished though, in your data table, you're going to have to show, as I did, and I think I showed this in part 1 of the video, you're going to have to show the mean, the median, the mode, the standard deviation, the n value, and I think I asked you somewhere to go ahead and find the range and put that in, what the range of the values were. But you need to do that so you can understand your data and have a good representation of it. Again, get the data and let's see what you have so that as I look these over, I can help you decide how you need to parse this out. For each hypothesis, indicate what statistical procedure you might choose. We haven't covered maybe a third, a little more than a third of the statistical procedures we need. But if you're looking and modeling after some other dissertation or research model and they suggest a statistic, put that down. That's what you might want to do. And do a little looking around and see what statistic might be good for what you're doing. Again, if you're doing a survey, I'm going to tell you that chi-squared 80 to 90% of the time is your answer. Okay, here's the example. Provide from 3 to 5 research questions that go with your and hypotheses as well that are derived from your overarching research questions as well as your overarching hypotheses. And be aware of the data you're able to acquire. Here's an example. If your overarching research question was, how is student performance for students receiving special programs, services, affected by the school year duration schema? Well, if you just read that somewhere and had not read any of the preceding material, you would not have any idea what that means. But somewhere in chapter 4 and somewhere in other chapters, you are going to have defined and you have told the audience what it means, what student performance measure you're going to use. Are you going to use some kind of a test within your school district or some kind of statewide test? Are you going to use some score that the state keeps on the school districts from statewide performance? but you're going to have some measure of performance. So we know that. Programs and services affected by the school year duration schema. Well, we know what that's going to be too. You will have defined that. Is that going to be a traditional 9-month school year? Is it going to be a year-round school, or is it going to be a 4-day-a-week school? You would have already defined that. So here's research question 1 about how is student performance. That's your dependent variable. How student performance is measured by whatever achievement measure you have for high and low achieving students. And remember, I said that could be, you could do free and reduced lunch rates. Every school district has an SES level, and you can use that and divide your school districts up that way, or you can divide your own school up and students in that school by SES. You could say if they're on free and reduced lunch, they belong to, believe it or not, the low SES group, and if they don't, they belong to the high one. So how does that affect the school year duration schema? And by that we mean, that's kind of that little semicolon is kind of, that is traditional 9-month school, a year-round school, or a 4-day-a-week school. So you're looking at the dependent variable, student performance, based on student SES level, and the independent variables are traditional 9-month, year-round, and 4-day-a-week. So your hypothesis would be something like this. There is no significant, and you might write the word statistically in there, difference in achievement level as measured by the, whatever the achievement test is, or the achievement score, the performance value, for high and low SES students among students attending school in a traditional 9-month school, year-round school, or 4-day-a-week school. So you make those comparisons. And again, this can be set up for multiple ANOVA or a chi-square test. I'd probably try to figure out a way to post my data to set it up for a chi-square that's easier to use and understand. What else was I wanted to tell you something else about this, but be careful how you use the words affect and effect. Remember, affect is the cause and effect is the result. And so sometimes when we write these, we'll say, how does something affect something? And then we'll say, what is the effect of? That's the effect. So you can write either way, but make sure you know what affect means and effect means. A lot of people have trouble with it, believe it or not, I do. Here's the data that I subscribe to for that particular example I'm giving you. I have 40 data points. I have low SES students and high SES students, and I have those students in those areas broken down into traditional school years, 9-month school. That's what a traditional is, and then a year-round school. That's a 12-month school, and then a 4-day-a-week school. So I have all those, and then I have an achievement score. And then I told, this could be anything. It could be on a 5-point scale. You could, then if you do something like that, that's when you use the chi-square. But here we're using continuous data on this. And so you really can't use continuous data with the chi-square. You need to have categorical kinds of data, put people in categories. Anyway, I've got this data, so I'd probably have to solve my problem with this data table, I would have to use a multiple ANOVA, and might even use an ANCOVA or a MANCOVA. It can get complicated. That's why I say stick to chi-square anytime you can. Okay, here's the total sample scores, mean, median, mode, standard deviation for the data for this whole sample. And then you've got the low ESS groups. Look, their average a little lower. And the high SES students, they're a little higher. Traditional school students, they're at 77. That's a little lower than the total sample. And year-round students are at 74. But those 4-day-a-week people, they learn more in 4 days than most people can learn in a full year or a 9-month year. And here's that chi-square table, that contingency table that I've got set up. And I could put this in a chi-square formula now and solve this. And if these are going to be the dependent variables and these are independent variables, it could tell me what relationship is there, an association between high performance and low performance on those school evaluations based on low SES students, high SES students. We know that. There have been a million studies done on that. but traditional year-round and 4-day a week. So anyway, it says add range as well. Now then, let's look at this. Let's see what we've got here. Chi-square terms. Okay, this is one of those little kind of a quiz in the sense that you need to print this off before you watch any of the videos so you can read these questions and know what you're looking for. So print this off, read the questions, and it says, what can you do when this condition, the condition of preconditions not satisfied is violated in a contingency table of 2 by 2 and one that is larger than a 2 by 2, a 2 by 3, a 3 by 3, and n by r. There's a difference in what you look at. One of them you look at what they call the likelihood ratio. Remember looking at that? And then there's another one called Fisher's exact test, and it'll give you the score for that too. Chi-square is used to compare the types of variables. Anyway, try to answer these questions, and we'll be on to that. Here's your assignment sheet, Module 7.9, Part 1, Exercise 10.2, 10.4, and 10.8. And 10.48 has some modified data, and I think you find that down when you look at the data table where all the data is. It may be down near the bottom of the table. Sometimes when you add a new one in, and I had to add that one in, it may have gone down to the bottom of the table. I can't remember. Anyway, use the new hypotheses method. There is no significant difference among or between. I don't care if you use is or was or will be, but when we write chapter 4, the tense is going to be past tense. Everything you write in that chapter needs to be past tense. You may as well start now writing your everything in past tense, because that's what we're going to grade. That's what you're going to have when you're done. Course project, as you continue that, you're going to provide the research questions. It's the same thing we just went over. And then in part 3, you're going to do that worksheet. Good luck.